Cromartie High School is an absolutely hilarious parody anime that lampoons the whole delinquent trend that ran rampant in Japan during the 1980s. It's filled with strange characters such as a literal gorilla, a knockoff Freddie Mercury, and Mekazawa, who is rumored to be not quite human. But as weird as the cast is, the greatest novelty of all comes from the names of the schools that act as the setting for Cromartie High School. Throughout the series, we see 4 high schools whose names bear striking resemblance to several Major League Baseball players. Well, actually it's not as much a resemblance as it is a direct homage. With Cromartie High, Bess High, Destrade High, and Manuel High, we learn the names of 4 foreign batters that eventually found their careers making pit stops in Japan's Nippon Professional Baseball League. Eiji Nonaka is the mastermind behind Cromartie High School, and before working on that, he had a manga called Super Baseball Club. Unfortunately, the only thing I could find about the story is the cover and a couple of reviews. One particular review on the book's Amazon Japan page stated that the Super Baseball Club wasn't very good at anything in particular. Another review laments the fact that the book is impossible to find, most likely due to low printing when it first came out over 30 years ago. Regardless of the quality of Nonaka's first crack at manga, one thing is abundantly clear. Baseball runs through Nonaka's veins, and the impact of the sport seeped into his work. Today we're going to dive into Nonaka's motley crew of infamous NPB legends and look at their lasting impact on both Japan and, apparently, the world of anime. First up is a man that I'd imagine most baseball fans are familiar with. Charlie Manuel is probably best known as the World Series winning manager of the 2008 Philadelphia Phillies. But prior to his managerial tenure, Manuel was known across Japan as Aka Oni, the Red Ogre. It's commonly believed that the name came to be due to Manuel's fiery, red-faced rage, but I like to think it's something more than that. You need to have some skill to get a nickname after a mythological creature, and Manuel definitely had skill after leaving the States. At the age of 33, Manuel joined the Tokyo Yakult Swallows after struggling to get his once promising baseball career going in the majors. The Swallows were a listless franchise prior to Manuel, comparative to the once cursed, lovable losers known as the Chicago Cubs. Manuel's arrival had just as little fanfare as his time with the Dodgers and Twins, however, as his first season with the Swallows saw him hit just .234 with very little pop. It was beginning to appear that the dream of baseball stardom was all but gone for the once touted Charlie Manuel. Following his paltry 1976 season, Manuel underwent an experimental knee surgery in Japan that would drastically change the tides for the Aka Oni. Manuel's 1977 season saw him take the Nippon League by storm, as he hit over 300 while swatting 42 home runs. With Manuel's red-hot bat on their side, the Swallows finished in second place, their highest finish in team history. Manuel kept things going the following season, and his big bat led the Swallows to their first ever championship. After 30 years of struggles, the Swallows had finally arrived, and it was due in no small part to the bat of Charlie Manuel. All good things must come to an end, though, and despite etching his name into the record books with the Swallows, Manuel would not return to the team in 1979. Upon leaving the Swallows, Aka Oni would find himself meeting up the Kanetsu Buffaloes of Osaka. The city of Osaka is known as the nation's kitchen, and that certainly worked for Charlie Manuel, as he got to cooking right away with his new team. He started the season on fire with an earth-shattering 25 home runs in only his first 2 months with his new team. Manuel's league-leading 37 home runs that season crushed all expectations for the slugger, and he became one of only a few American players to win MVP. Charlie Manuel's run in Japan was filled with incredible highs and a number of controversies, from broken bones and monstrous home run totals to contract disputes and missed games. Manuel was always garnering a headline. Whether you liked him or not, Manuel had an incredible ability to get fans talking about him. And one of those fans was clearly a young Eiji Nonaka. And, with all of that, Manuel High School was born. While Charlie Manuel almost certainly has no idea that Cromartie High School exists, the show's namesake certainly does. Warren Cromartie played his entire NPB career in Tokyo as a member of the Yomiuri Giants, who are often considered to be the Yankees of Japan, a constant big powerhouse that's absolutely hated by opposing fans. And speaking of burning hatred, Warren Cromartie is filled with it when it comes to Cromartie High School. Cromartie has been quoted as saying that he is not a fan of the series' cast of characters that smoke, fight with students from other schools, and are depicted as ruffians. The former Giants outfielder would eventually go as far as to sue the show for using his name, though the case was eventually settled. From the outcome, it seems that Cromartie legitimately didn't want his name associated with a bunch of goons, as the settlement contained no money. Just a disclaimer saying that the names in Cromartie High School are not to be associated with any real people. Which is kind of odd considering Cromartie did find himself enjoying a good brawl every now and again. Despite his rocky relationship with Nonaka's manga and anime series, Warren Cromartie is still an icon in Japan. Following an incredibly solid 9 years as a member of the Montreal Expos, Cromartie decided to take his talents to Tokyo in 1984. Much like Akaoni before him, Cromartie would take the NPB by storm en route to 3 All-Star appearances, a 1989 MVP award, and, even sweeter, a 1989 championship title with the Giants. Cromartie would then return to the majors in 1991 to close out his career with a solid season off the bench for the Kansas City Royals. Long after his playing days ended, Cromartie found himself back in Japan. In 2007, the former outfielder took his bat out once again, though this time it was in the wrestling ring of Tokyo's Saitama Arena. On his opponent, Cromartie stated, "I'm going to take him out just like on a double play. I'm going to go from first to third and take him out with the home run chop." Once again, it seems his concern with fighting and ruffians is only in regards to students. While his charity bout was all in good fun, Cromartie got serious with baseball once again in 2019 when he joined back up with the Giants in an advisor role. His tenure recently came to a close, but he will remain in Japan in order to pursue other baseball opportunities. Cromartie even has his own Japanese YouTube channel that features some awesome content, as well as interviews with some other members of today's crew. What you won't find, however, is anything about Eiji Nonaka and Cromartie High School. Randy Bess was a man that truly made the best of his time in Japan. From learning the ins and outs of shogi with his teammates, to slurping up noodles whenever he could get his hands on a bowl of ramen, Bess fell in love with Japan. And for as much as Bess loved Japan, the fans of the Hanshin Tigers adored Bess all the more. The Hanshin Tigers fan base is rabid. They don't win much, but they're considered to be some of the loudest and most passionate fans in sports. When Randy Bess arrived in 1983, those fans had no idea what was in store for them. By 1985, Bess was MVP off the back of his first of 2 Triple Crown titles. This massive effort by the man they called the Hanshin Bus helped lead the Tigers to their first, and only, Japan Series championship. Success would remain in Bess's bat the following season, as 1986 saw the first baseman lock down his second straight Triple Crown, while hitting a Nippon League record-breaking .389. When all was said and done, Bess's 6 years in Nishinomiya saw him hit 202 home runs while adding 486 RBIs. Bess struggled across 6 seasons in the majors, so it's no surprise that he's revered as an icon for his play in Japan. Randy Bess has said that his decision to head overseas was the best decision he ever made. A big reason for that decision being so important for Bess was of course the fans that supported him. As Bess has stated, the fans were outstanding. Good or bad, it didn't matter. They were there. And one of those Bess fans was obviously our Cromartie High author Eiji Nonaka, as thanks to him, Randy's name now lives on not only in the Nippon League record books, but as a fictional school building in a gag manga. That all goes without mentioning the fact that Bess spent 15 years as a state senator in Oklahoma, but that's not nearly as interesting as his time in Nippon as the Hanshin Bus. Of all the Cromartie High School players, Orestes Estrada is definitely the one that was the biggest and boldest flash in the pan. His Nippon career spanned just 4 seasons with the Saitama Seibu Lions during the early 90s after a quick MLB stint with the Pittsburgh Pirates. Though his time with the Lions may have been short, the Cuban-born first baseman made his presence known across Japan as he slammed his way into the history books of baseball and manga. Estrada made his Lions debut in 1989 and smacked a very respectable 32 home runs and 89 RBIs. The 3, 4, and 5 of the Lions' batting order formed AKD, or Akiyama, Kiyohara, and Estrada. These bats were some of the toughest outs in Nippon history, especially if you'd asked Estrada himself.
You know, obviously the greatest 3-4 ever in Japan,
Estrada then went on to completely demolish pitchers, leading the league in home runs for the next 3 seasons, as the Lions went on to win 3 straight championships from 1990 to 1992. That 1990 championship also saw Destrade named as a Japan Series MVP, which is one of the highest accolades a player, let alone a foreign one, can receive. In that moment, he became the first Latino player to win a Japan Series MVP, an honor that was his alone for 30 years. Destrade would head back to America following the 1992 championship run with the Lions to sign on with the Florida Marlins. In his 1993 season with the team, Destrade was able to keep some of his invincible Seibu magic going, knocking 20 home runs and 87 RBIs for baseball's newest franchise. After a weak 94 campaign in Florida, however, Destrade wrapped up his baseball career with one more season with Seibu. These days, Destrade is known more for his time on television. No, not from his name's brief cameo in Cromartie High School, but as a broadcaster. Since 2001, Destrade has provided color commentary for events such as the World Baseball Classic and Little League World Series, while also spending a number of years working in the booth for the Tampa Bay Rays. These four men played across several different eras of the Nippon Professional Baseball League. They won championships and MVP awards. They were hailed across Japan as difference makers due to their power and ability to take over games. From Charlie Manuel in the 1970s to Orestes Destrade in the 1990s, their legacies are forever etched into Japanese baseball history. But, more than anything, the thing they have in common is this: they are the four forgotten baseball stars of Cromartie High School.